Joining us via Skype is the lead pastor of the Rush Church United in Connecticut, U.S. Through social media, his ministry has a reach of over 30 million people a week. Yet life hasn't always been easy for Marcus Gill. He's overcome several obstacles, including a failed marriage and the loss of his child. He joins us today to talk about his journey and his book, Single God Life. Welcome, Marcus Gill.
Hey, man, so glad to be on with you.
It's good to have you along. Now, this book that you've written, which is causing quite a stir, is getting a lot of attention, Single God Life. But let me start with the painful parts of your journey, which informs a lot of what you talk about in the book. How is it that you end up losing your marriage and your child? What happened?
Well, understandably, being in a rush to do things, I found out is one of the biggest mistakes that any man or woman here on earth could ever do. We rushed into a lot of things. I was in a hurry for things, listening to people's opinions, taking advice from the wrong people, and I ended up making a commitment to a relationship, not necessarily because the opposite party was a bad person or they were just so evil, but just because I really wasn't ready yet, she wasn't ready yet, and because of the opinions of others, I made a decision outside of God's will. I ended up finding myself trying to survive his permissive will and trying to get back in line with his perfect will. So stepping into the relationship too fast, ended up going through so many things that I wasn't prepared for. And unfortunately, in the process, our baby girl, my first and only child, ended up contracting a bacterial infection called Group B streptococcal meningitis. And 3 weeks after her birth, she passed away. And on that day was when my life changed forever.
Now, let me ask you, having been through that, I know you talk a lot to singles, encouraging them to things like watch out for the red flags and all that. But yes, for you personally, have you really gotten to the place of being able to trust again? Because, having been through a broken marriage, it must be quite traumatic, let alone being a pastor. Have you gotten through it yet?
Well, I will say this. I don't believe I will ever get over the pain of losing my daughter to death. However, I can testify to the fact that I have gotten over the pain of a failed marriage. I understand this right here, that oftentimes when we fail, we make these mistakes and we go through these traumatic experiences. A lot of times it's because, like you said, we do ignore the red flags. I like to call the red flags the voice of God in our lives. God will be speaking to us, and for the most part, most of us who are devout believers and dedicated to having a relationship with God, we know when we hear the Lord speaking. But our problem is we don't like what he says at times, because what he says often goes against our own agenda. And so when we ignore his voice, we end up in those traumatic situations where we're trying to find ways of escape. So yes, I certainly can trust again. I'm single now and I'm pastor now. God has been using me in a mighty way, but I am certainly looking forward to getting married for the last time again. So the issue of trust is not there, because I trust God, and God's going to set me up with the right person and everything's going to be all right.
Now, part of your book obviously helps us to deal with being open and hearing. But sometimes I've read some places where you're described as quite a focused young man and quite charismatic. And I wonder, do you ever get people saying to you, "Oh, that Marcus Gill, he's hard of hearing, he's too full of himself"?
Well, you know what? If people are saying those things, I don't hear it myself. Every so often there are words, that get passed to me by people who love me. But if I can say this for your viewers, thank God for those people. When you're doing the right thing and you're working hard and you're, building the kingdom of God to the best of your ability, you got those people that really support you and have your back. And then you have those people that do let you know who to watch out for, who's talking about you, who's saying negative things about you. And always ask those people, what did you say when you heard those negative things? And if they can defend you, and if they're telling you that they shut the mouth of the enemy on your behalf, those are some good people to be around. But for the most part, I'm excited about doing the work of the Lord, and I'm happy for everyone, whether they are happy for me or not. I just want to see everybody be blessed.
Now, the book, which encourages us to live a godly life as singles, what are some of the what's some of the feedback you've gotten? Because 30 million people on social media a week. That's a lot of people. Have you had much feedback about the book, and what have some of those been?
Well, the feedback has been wonderful. I count it an honor and a privilege that God has trusted me with such a platform. When you see social media today, majority of it is a lot of drama, a lot of fights, things that don't necessarily glorify God at all. And God has trusted me with this platform. And so getting people's testimonies every day, we receive, hundreds of emails every day. And most of them are from people all around the world, males and females, testifying about how either the Facebook post and the Instagram post are really blessing their lives. And of course, hearing that the book Single God Life is blessing their lives. Man, I got a testimony from a woman, 74 years old. She sent me an email and she said, "Pastor, I'm 74 years old and I just finished reading your book." And she said, "I'm excited about waiting on my husband." And that just blew my mind. So I figure if she can wait and be excited about her waiting time, so can everyone else that's a lot younger than her.
Wow, 74. That's pretty special. Now,
yes, sir.
For I have to say, Marcus Gill, I saw some clips of you playing, and I thought, oh my goodness, this brother plays some mean piano. Is there any music coming out? Is there a CD coming out? Maybe waiting music for singles?
I went to school. I went to the Winston-Salem State University School of Music in North Carolina, and music is my first love. It certainly is a passion of mine. We've recorded some music, just done a couple of singles, and they're on iTunes. But I do plan on doing a dynamic worship CD with my church, the Rush Church, and we're going to do something really awesome, hopefully within the next 12 months.
Okay, so finally, going back to the book again, because of course our conversation is really about the book. It's
okay.
It's a workbook for me to know how to get through my life as a single person. And once I read it, do I get to interact with you further, or does it end with the book? Can I reach out to Marcus Gill? Because you got 30 million people. How can I reach you to interact with you?
Well, you know what? Just to give you a small testimony. Just this past week, we did a singles conference in Detroit, Michigan, and I tried the absolute best of my ability, man, to read all my emails every night, read Facebook inboxes, read the retweets, and see, how people are responding to the message, and if people do have any questions. It is absolutely impossible for me to answer everyone one by one, but as God leads, and I get a message and I feel like the person is really opening their heart and they, don't have a hidden agenda to communicate with me, right away I find a way to communicate with them and encourage them the best way I can. I don't get too personal. I don't like to get into people's personal lives and communicate for too long. But I do it with integrity. I do it lawfully. And, if God leads me to open an email and respond to it, I'm glad to do it. So, hey, send me one. If you got a question, you never know. I may see it and respond to you immediately.
Marcus Gill, thank you so much for the book. And we're certainly looking for the CD because, man, you play some mean music, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me on.